And now it was time for Victor to continue his journey. He didn't really want to think about what extra puzzles may lay before him. Well, this looked suspicious. He supposed he would check the map. Well, check what he could see. Okay, so there's multiple ways to the next floor. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. Okay. Well, he suppose he should start somewhere. What is that? Oh. Oh! Good. She has a guardian protecting this floor. And it breathes fire. Great. Oh. Yeah, will-o-wisps. Evil creatures that feed on the powerful emotions associated with panic, horror, and death. Will-o-wisps delight in luring travelers into deadly peril. They're also immune to almost every spell Victor has in his arsenal, because elements don't affect them. Oh, this is going to be fun. Alright. First, let's do this so that Victor doesn't die. And then summon some backup. Will-o-wisps, the wolf would be better. Physical and magic. The Netherians certainly had a way of causing themselves to be immune to everything a mage may have in their arsenal. Victor's not a fan of that. And they'll constantly phase in and out of invisibility as well, which is extra fun. Oh, an vengeful spirit. The jagged edged blade float towards you. Oh, okay, so it's just another summoned entity. Let's see if a high level fire spell will work against the will-o-wisps. It's worth a shot, if nothing else. It did not. It did kill the vengeful spirit, but that's a waste of that spell. Alright. Well, wisps will be sticking to magic missile then. Ugh, can't target them when they're invisible. This is gonna burn through Victor's arsenal very quickly, I feel. The amount that he as a mage has had to engage in physical combat, he's definitely going to gain a little bit of an advantage over some others for this, I think. Ugh, thank goodness for the wolf. No, it's only 4 hit points. He'll be okay for now. Alright, what's this then? A bloodied altar. Oh, great. Yes, I should definitely interact with this. There's nothing there. Oh. Maybe it's to sacrifice something to the great big jerk that breathes fire, whatever that thing is. Perhaps an Netherian mutant of some sort. It didn't quite look like a dragon. Four levers. Interesting. Well, these are very similar to that of... They just drop out of the sky then. Fantastic. On one hand, Victor can admire the magical defenses of this place. On the other hand, he's really not in the mood, and this is very frustrating. Alright, how do we deal with that vengeful spirit? Let's do this. Okay, we should probably help out our friend too, because we're going to be relying on him pretty heavily. Fix him up real quick. Victor's supernatural skill in medicine is certainly paying off. I guess we don't have much choice but to fall back on these.
Have at thee!
Oh, well done, Victor. It's rare that he gets high rolls. This is where blind fight, the feat that I was looking at previously, would greatly come in handy. I can't tell if they're actually gone or not. The wolf has stopped, so we'll assume. Come on then. You're much less interactive than Harmony, but I'm afraid summoning her now would just... oh. Bar's practically teleported in front of me. I'm afraid right now she would just get in the way. It's unfortunate, but it's the way things are. Another vengeful spirit. Okay. Multiple of these. Victor really does not want to waste his magic missiles that he has left memorized. Ow. But that hurts quite a bit. Perhaps increasing his own AC will be a good idea here. Victor perhaps switching. Oh good, more of them. Many of them, in fact. That's what, 4? Yeah, it looks to be, well, 4 that are visible. 5 that are visible to him right now. Okay, Victor doesn't have much choice here. And they all want to attack him. Let's do this then. If they want to attack him, they'll pay for it. What are you at, Victor? 40? You're still okay for now. When he gets to the 20 range, he'll be taking potions. Because that's the danger zone of a crit hit killing him. He's definitely gotten tougher. Annoyingly, Will-O-Wisp were exact opposites to what he needed to deal with right now. It wasn't that they were too difficult for him to kill, or damage rather, it's that they didn't want to die. They were incredibly sturdy little things, and his arsenal could not harm them. On the other hand, the Skeletal Devourer most certainly could be dealt with. How on earth, well, He supposed originally they must have been actual intellect devourers. Returned to vigor by evil sorcerers, these undead intellect devourers are more resilient and have greater mental acuity than their still living brethren. And they're not actually too much more difficult to deal with, they just have all the immunities that comes with being an undead creature. Don't spam that, otherwise the effect would be wasted. Let's do this. Undead are fairly weak against the flames, so... Oh, well done, Wolfie. Now you most certainly need to be treated. Can't afford to lose you. Victor needs you badly. Ugh. Finally. Now, the door is locked, which stands to reason. The architecture was still amazing, though. Victor truly wished he had time to study this place in full, but he most certainly would not have the time. Especially considering he was going to be bringing it crashing to the ground, most likely. This puzzle seemed fairly cut and clear, however. There were 3 other ethereal levers that he couldn't interact with, and from what he saw, the place was built in a square, the tower itself was, which meant that each corner, judging from the way this was laid out, would be a lever that he would have to pull, and once they were all pulled, the doors would open. Infuriating, because it was buying the damn Medusa that much more time. Unfortunately, it wasn't as though he had much of a choice. Another bloodied altar, but this one wasn't glowing. What is... oh. A shank of meat? You wonder how long this shank of meat has been here. Yes, really though. 50 pounds. That's a lot of meat. Victor can't carry that. We'll leave it for now. I don't know what that would be for. No, except perhaps for that other bloodied altar that actually has the glow on it. Because that seems to be connected to the creature, most likely, judging from its closeness to the center. There was enough room there as well. That was a hard call. For now, he'll leave it. And a +5 scarab of protection. A scarab is a stone amulet carved in the shape of a stout-bodied beetle. This particular example shields the wearer's person inside an invisible barrier. The strength of this barrier is determined by the power and skill of the creator of the item, and varies with each specimen. Scarabs are of a far southern design, though the original source is lost to history. Likely the deserts. Though it was incredibly potent, Victor's own amulet was superior, in his opinion. The immunities that it granted truly were worth keeping. And of course its healing properties combined with... well, the gates truly just like popping out of nowhere, don't they? As he was saying, or thinking, rather, the immunities and regenerative properties that granted alongside his cloak were much more notable. Now, Victor's at an impasse here, because that creature's guarding the middle way, which means that it will breathe fire all over him when he tries to pass through. Which means he likely will need his resistance but he doesn't have that memorized. His staff, however, has it stored. That's why he doesn't have it memorized. It would seem he would need to take a moment to recharge his items, otherwise he would likely perish. It was possible that the flames were weak, but it's a giant mutated dragon demon creature breathing fire and guarding an ancient Netherian tower. He found it doubtful that the flames would be of the lesser variety. It also likely wasn't a spell, so his globe of invulnerability would not be effective. Well, with little else to do, he would simply have to take a moment. There would be no time to actually rest, but he could use his crystals and magic to recharge his items and perhaps rememorize the few spells he'd actually used. Unfortunately, this was the way of a mage, especially one working alone. It was not to his preference, but it wasn't as though he had many options right now. Once more, the loss of Dorna reminded him of how much he'd relied on her. But that was nothing but an excuse at this point. He had no choice. You might have heard that, I don't know. Someone decided to go roaring down the road at 9 p.m.? Interesting choices. With his staff in hand, he knew better than to summon his wolf. After all, the creature would just be killed. Theoretically. Though it would be an interesting test to see how deadly the flames really were. But he would rather simply not find out. The more time he spent trying to figure something out like that, the more time the Medusa had to finish her plans. Now he needs to decide which direction he's going, and left seems like a decent idea. Yes, hello, giant mutated dragon creature. Oh. Oh yes. It was a very good thing that he had used the staff. Oh. That had burned through the entire spell. Just with a few paces through the flames. It had actually seared him near the end. Oh, look and friends at the same time. Very well. Summon the right one, Victor. And of course, without that elemental protection, these things actually hit quite hard. Well, in general. They still only cause minor electrical burns, and his regeneration coped with a bit of it. But it wasn't exactly a pleasurable experience. Perhaps he should take time to memorize elemental resistances next time he had a moment. He had assumed it would be a different set of enemies every time in each section. Clearly he was wrong, and the Medusa had realized his weakness and was purposely abusing it with very sturdy, weak creatures that were immune to almost anything he could throw at them. How lovely. Let's give the wolf mage armor. Switch out. Oof. These are incredibly tedious to deal with. It's gonna go in. Oh, look at that. He actually managed to get it off. Ooh. That should be enough. He and the wolf should be able to manage from this point. Mostly the wolf. Oh, and I did notice while we sit here rolling dice that I never switched the difficulty rating back because of the bugs that it was causing with Dorna. I had turned it down to normal. So I'm sure in previous episodes there's a couple of points where I threw a fireball or I threw an AoE and it hit everybody, but it didn't actually cause them damage. So I apologize for that. I didn't notice at all. Um, so if that happens, that's why. I've switched it back now. So if it causes further problems, though, it might just have to stay on normal when we move on to the next part of Victor's story. Yeah, a rusted flail. Fantastic. Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. If you enjoy my videos and don't want to miss out on future content, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. If you'd like to support me on a more personal level, offer recommendations, chat with me, or vote on future series, then consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Thank you once again for all your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next chapter of our story.